Hey there, welcome to Contracts and Chaos. My name's Alyssa.
And I'm Brenna, and we're here to tell you that you are not alone in the mayhem of this real estate industry.
We're keeping it real and sharing our stories, strategies, and successes in today's real estate world.
So come join us every Tuesday while we talk contracts and chaos.
Ready, set, go.
That's right.
All right. So, the dreaded season is coming, the one I don't like to talk about. But did you see?
Coming? What are you talking about? It's here.
No, it's not.
Tax
it's not
season
April 14th
has
yet.
been
We're fine.
upon us.
Whatever.
We were driving back from Maryland yesterday. We had like a almost 7-hour drive. I'm like, Travis, we need to do taxes. We need to finish these. Like, I've done all the things that I can do by myself. I need you now. And
I'm just
he's
impressed
like,
y'all do your own
seriously?
taxes owning 2 businesses.
Oh,
I
God.
don't even
So
know. Hand them over. Someone else can do it.
on April 14th, aren't you cutting it a little close at that point?
That's why I file an extension. I'm the worst person
Oh.
to talk to about taxes, girl. The worst.
Then why are we talking about taxes? Listen, I hate taxes. They give me the heebie-jeebies.
They give me
They're
anxiety.
so uncomfortable.
Yeah, even
And
even
this is
when I was like a W-9 or whatever, I hated them.
Mhm.
I was like, I think it's because I'm petrified of ever going to jail for anything or getting in trouble. So I'm like, yeah, we'll pay a professional, thank you. I'm not messing with that.
Yeah.
No.
God, I can't. If I get audited, I'm just gonna drown. I'll just die.
Yeah,
I'll
I would
just
be
sink
like-
into the earth and just
Yeah,
like,
I
never
would literally
mind.
be like,
I made
don't
a
know, I gave
mistake.
everything to my CPA. Here's the folder of receipts I gave him. I don't know what you want.
That's funny. This is the first year, though, that I have ever had my commission structure set up with the profit first method and had money set aside for taxes to pay the nasty IRS.
And has
bill.
that been helpful?
I mean, I'm still upset about it, but
Well-
it is less because like there is a dedicated bank account to cover these expenses. I was just a little.
And I'm going to tell you something that I have been waiting so I could tell you while we were recording because I want everyone else to see your reaction.
Oh, good.
I set up a tax account this week.
Yes! 2025, here you come.
And so I've been waiting, Real has our own bank accounts now, and I've been waiting for them to do that. But I had told myself if they don't have this done by April, then I'm going to go open a bank account somewhere else. Right now we only have the one extra, but they have announced that the others are coming. So I will be setting up Profit First through my Real bank account.
Nice. No, I do. I love the Profit First method. It's been a year now that we set this up, or I set this up and used it diligently, and it's made a big difference. So, let's start on this because I think yes. Our little chit chatties will fit in to a lot of this stuff that we're talking about, and I think it's probably going to be a pretty meaty episode.
Yes,
it's
and
taxes.
Before we get into this, I'm just going to lay out the disclaimer because I'm the one that's afraid of always going to jail or getting fined and whatnot.
Oh, God. Please tell them that we are not CPAs.
We are not tax professionals. This is just what we have learned along the way. Always consult with your CPA. If you need to, go back to last year's episode with Miranda. That actually might be a good one to repost right now.
We just reposted it around Christmas.
We did, actually, yes. So you don't have to dig back that far.
Because we were coming into tax season. For those of them that were, doing taxes the end of January, not the end of March.
I did mail my tax forms to all my clients, so.
Me too. Listen, I was on that by the end of January.
Right.
Those were out like the third week of January.
Oh, mine were the first week. I was like,
I'm prepared for everybody else.
Right? Yeah, exactly. But so we are going to talk about taxes this week. We as realtors always have a unique challenge. Anyone who's 1099 does, because there's lots of earnings, there's lots of write-offs. Both Brenna and I bought cars this year. Those are a write-off. If you bought a house, that could be a write-off for certain things. But we wanted to at least touch lightly on this, and we are also going to do a little quick episode about potential write-offs. But today we're talking about tax tips for realtors and what you need to know. You may have already filed, and we might be behind the 8 ball on this one, but at least we're doing it. So we're going to talk about some tax tips.
Mm-hmm. Well, and to be fair, I do believe, Alyssa, that a lot of us, especially in this business, are the ones that like wait as long as they possibly can because maybe they haven't been saving for taxes, or maybe they didn't keep up with their receipts and it's taking them this long to get last year's crap together, you know?
Yes.
So
I will
I
say,
think
like,
we
all of my
might.
receipts are like in an envelope somewhere. I at least have them.
That's good. I need to be better with keeping receipts. On like confession, that's my worst trait.
Oh, see,
I hate
that's
receipts.
an easy one. They all go in an envelope. What I ever
Mm,
do with them, that's
right.
where we that's where you lose me. But
Okay.
okay,
Here we
so
go.
let's talk about some common tax deductions that I think people don't think about. Um the first one, like marketing and advertising. If you have a billboard, business cards, flyers, that swag that you buy, staging costs, your photography costs. One that I think people don't think about is social media ads.
No, social media ads are a big one, and they add up really quickly. And I think that's why people are like, oh well, I boosted that post for $50, or I did a listing ad for $100. Like it's $100, but depending on how many listings or how many posts you boost or advertise with, that adds up at the end of the year. So,
It does. And it's all a business expense. It's all a write
mhm,
off. So keep
yep,
track of those things. And if you have your Facebook profile set up correctly, you can go in and pull that at the end of the year, or they should be sending you emails. And I just put them all my things like that go into a file in Gmail,
mhm.
expenses 2025, and then I can pull it out and print what I need.
Yep, that's what I have. I have a little label, I think it is in Gmail, that you just drag and drop those into.
Yeah.
And then if you have QuickBooks, you have an email address that is connected to your QuickBooks account. You can actually forward those email receipts to QuickBooks,
Oh,
and it'll categorize and keep the receipt for you. And it'll, if you link your bank account and everything, it'll, attach those two together and be like, here's the receipt for this
that's
transaction.
nice. That's real
Yep.
nice. I'm gonna do that this year. I'll start after the 15th.
So you'll be one quarter in, but it's fine.
Hey, it's
We
better
got to
than where I
start
am now,
somewhere.
let me tell you.
But no, marketing, I feel like people think of marketing and they're like signs, business
Yeah,
cards. Like, but there is so much more that goes into marketing
right. Like,
yourself as a business and your listings. If you do, like, I have a buyer letters, like if you're prospecting a neighborhood looking for a specific listing, or a specific opportunity for a client, like all of those expenses is marketing. If it's got your name, contact information, and your logo on there, it is a write off.
yep. And like postage, your postage is a ref. I think one thing people don't think about too is client appreciation gifts
Hmm.
are technically marketing. Now, there's a
Yes.
limit, so make sure you check with your CPA, but you can write those off.
Hmm. And you
Like,
can write more of them. And this is where we get into, like, everything has to have your logo on it, because if it has your logo on it, it's marketing, and there isn't a limit on your client appreciation gift because it's all marketing expense, right?
right. But
But we only need so many kitchen conversion magnets with your face on them, or listen, there's some
right.
cool stuff that you can put your name and logo on, but not all 15 items in the basket need to have your name, phone number, and face on it.
Nor should they.
Right.
When I was doing like baskets for closing gifts, I did branded Yeti tumblers, but it
Mm-hmm.
came with like a bottle of champagne or something. Like,
It's
not
nice.
everything should be brand. Sorry. you, you know when kittens do the
Mm-hmm.
he's doing this in the corner in my ear. Um so yes, not everything in your gift basket should be branded. But if you put something in there that is branded, then it is a write off. So make sure
Yes.
you check with your CPA on that.
Yep.
Um here's one that gets a little tricky. Um I can write off this entire room
Mm-hmm.
because this room is very obviously a home office.
Yes.
Nothing else happens in here other than like fostering stray cats. Um, but if you are like for Brenna's case, your closet doubles as a home office. So
Correct.
you can only count a certain percentage of that
Of
space.
this space, right? So when we finish the upstairs and I have my office, which will be astronomically larger than this room, my deductions for a home office will go up.
Right.
The thing to be very careful of with this, and check, there's a line on your taxes that you can look at. A home office deduction, if you just take the standardized deduction, it caps you at $1,500. If you do the itemized deductions, so you figure it out by square foot, right? So if you have a 2,000 square foot house and your office is 200 square foot, that's 10%, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's 10% of everything that you pay for your house. So your mortgage, your insurance, your utilities, your landscaping, all of those things, if you keep track of those expenses and 10% equals more than $1,500, which probably does, right? Make sure if you're not doing them yourself, if you have somebody that's doing it, that they're not just taking that $1,500 deduction, because that's, again, just leaving money on the table at that point.
Yep. Yeah, that's a good one to remember how to calculate it correctly. And
Mm-hmm.
again, talk to your CPA about it. Tell them, hey, like I think the number for the percentage would work better. Like have an idea of that number before you go in there. Obviously, let them figure it out because they're the licensed professional.
Right,
But
right. If you look up, I think it's Your Tax Coach on Instagram. She's got some really cool information on there. Also talking about like some of these houses now, like they have multiple en suites, right? So it's not just the primary that has an ensuite. So if your home office has a ensuite, that counts towards your percentage too. If that, like, if it's attached to that room, that's
yes.
your office bathroom, right?
Well,
Um,
that's how Aaron's is set up. Ron has an
mhm,
actual office, but then their primary bedroom has a bedroom and what usually would be like a sitting room and the
mhm,
bathroom. But that sitting room space is Aaron's
is her
office.
office.
So
Yep,
they can, it would make more sense for them probably to do the specific breakdown.
yep, yep. It's great. And say, for my case, like my space right now is so small, it usually comes out in the wash. It's really, really close to the
Right.
1,500, you know? But when I move upstairs, and I mean, it's going to be like 400 square feet of office for
Nice.
me. So that's a huge deduction change. And keeping track of I mean, who doesn't want to write off a little bit of their electric bill, you know?
My internet bill. I would like to write off my internet bill because it's astronomically high.
Oh, everything's astronomically high. That's just how how life works right now.
Right? I
But
actually, someone the other day, I think I'm going to call the internet provider and add a phone line because I think it would make my bill less. And I don't
mhm.
even need the phone line. Like I just want my bill to get smaller. But anyway, so you and I are going to take advantage of the next one. You want to talk about it?
Vehicles, yeah, we do take
Mm,
advantage of those. And it's important because of the industry that we're in. We drive 1,000,000 miles a year. I
I've
swear.
put over 10,000 miles on the new car already.
Oh
I like
no, so
I'm on my third oil change, I think.
I just got the Yukon the end of November. Right here we are in March, so it's like 4 months. Right, I've had it for 4 months. I have 9,000 miles on it. 9,000 miles. So, that the mileage deduction is one of the biggest deductions for real estate agents. If you keep track of your miles, I know there's some apps that do it. QuickBooks will do it. Honestly, it keeps disconnecting for me, so I'm not sure that I'll use it throughout the, like,
Have,
I'll keep
have you tried Mile
logging.
IQ?
Is that the one that's like doubling in price this year?
Yeah, but it's worth it. Pay for it.
Okay.
Um, it
No, I've never used
literally,
that. The only other one that I've used before this is Hurdler.
yeah, I've never
Um,
used that one.
and that worked out pretty well. I
Mile
was
IQ,
trying really hard to keep, since I bought QuickBooks, to be able to utilize QuickBooks for like as much as I can, like the receipt tracking, the expense
yeah.
reports, like all of that stuff.
Well, and so Mile IQ
Mhm.
is like Tinder for mileage. Swipe this way, know it was personal. Swipe this way, know it was business, or it might be the opposite. But it will then, you can export it in whatever format QuickBooks needs to upload it into. So it
Nice.
calculates everything and then it's one boof. So it might be just as
That's
easy.
what that's what QuickBooks does too. And I don't know if it's a setting on my phone too that just like kicks my location off or something like that, because it does, it'll pop up and be like, you need to track these whatever trips that you did. I picked the kids up from school. I met a buyer at a showing. That's another showing. Those kinds of things, which is so nice, really.
Mm-hmm.
Because I remember growing up that there was a gentleman that he literally had his little notebook in the car and would write down the beginning mileage and drive
Right.
somewhere and write down the end mileage. And I'm like, oh my God, that's
Yeah.
a lot.
Yeah. No,
Mm-hmm.
I would never try. I would just take the maintenance cost at that point. I'm like, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
whatever.
Well, and that's the other thing too. You can believe that you can track your, and again, ask somebody who knows more than I do about this, but your beginning mileage of the year and then the end mileage and then your percentage of what you use for work, which quite frankly is a huge percentage
Right.
because our school's a mile point 0.3
Well,
down the
and like,
road.
so let's just say, so the mileage deduction rate right now is 65.5 cents per mile.
Mm-hmm.
If all 10,000 of my miles were business,
Mm-hmm.
that's a big write off,
Yes.
a big one.
Yep.
So just keep that in mind.
Yep. And
Yeah.
then you have, in addition to that, like we bought cars this year, so that can be an asset in your business. You can take a 179 deduction if you want to. This year it's 60%. It was 100%, then it was
Yeah.
80. This year it's 60%. If you need to take accelerated depreciation, like you made more money this year than you thought you were going to, and you need to take that accelerated depreciation. Otherwise, you can set it up to take a little bit of depreciation every year, which is like a guaranteed, like I'm going to take whatever 15,000, 10,000. This is just a chunk off the car. And that's in addition to your mileage expenses too.
Right. Yep. Yes, cars are a good write off. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I know
Well,
some
it's
people.
really the only good because it is a depreciating
Right.
asset at that point. Like it's really the only plus.
Well, and there are some people who literally buy a new car every year. You'll see them
Mm-hmm.
go out the last week of December and buy a car. And you're like,
Yep.
what's going on? They're like, I need the tax write off.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, I never understood it until now. And like, I'm one of those people who loves my car. So I would have to go buy like a fun car every year, which I could do if I wanted. But it makes sense. Like now, like looking at, it, I'm like, oh, they own a business. The business needs a right,
Yes.
or they need a personal write off. Like,
Yes.
makes sense.
Yep.
I'm never getting rid of my car, but um,
um,
y'all can quote me on that one.
yeah, just write it down, put it on a post-it note somewhere. Okay. Education and coaching. So a lot of people in our industry do invest in a coach, a mentor, a whatever. Those are deductible because you're improving your skills. So we're talking like if you take a class about working with the elderly or being a buyer's advocate or a listing specialist, those kinds of classes and programs that you're investing in yourself, in your knowledge, in your business, those are all
Right.
write-offs.
Like you're continuing at even your conferences.
Mm-hmm.
Your conferences count in this category. So like I went to one last week and honestly I was like nervous about spending money on it. And I was like,
It's a write-off.
and literally someone said it's a write off. And I could picture that. I think it's from Schitt's Creek where they're like, okay, but like where's the money coming? It doesn't matter. It's a write off.
Right.
And that was my mentality. I was like, it's a write off. Whatever.
It is. And
I'll
even
use it.
um even your travel there is a write-off, like your plane tickets, your part of your meals while you're there, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh. And also travel, like if you travel with your family, if you're having like business meetings, board meetings, that kind of thing, you need to document all of it. But like I think it's 50% of travel. Like if you're going somewhere for 4 days, at least two of them have to be for business to count as a business trip. But
Yes. I think that's
all
what
of
it is
that
too.
stuff, man.
Yeah. And like that business part of it
Mm-hmm.
could be taking another agent to lunch to talk about their market. Like there are
Mm-hmm.
ways to make it work. Again,
Yeah, tour
IRS is
some
not listening. I didn't say that.
tour
But
some potential investment properties,
yeah.
meet with some referral agents, take a class in that town,
Mm-hmm.
like it, take me to Disney and teach me about real estate.
Yes. Wait, I'm literally doing that in October.
I
So,
love that. I love that.
yeah, can you come to that one, please? Just for that part so we can all go to
Disney.
Disney together.
I love Disney. Get me
Um,
some mini ears. Ugh.
I'm gonna get little mermaid ones.
This goes for your online subscriptions too. So I have not contracts and chaos. That's us. Coffee and contracts. I have their subscription that is like social media,
Yep.
like
Or
posts and things like that, and that can go under marketing. That can go under a few different things, but it's a subscription every month that I pay for. That is an expense.
yep. Or like
For
I
sure.
use listing leads, which is not like a listing, like a pay for listing thing. It's how to market to get more listings. Or like CapCut, Splice.
Yep.
We talked about Forewarn in the safety episode. If your MLS isn't paying for that, Forewarn's a write
Hmm.
off. Get it. Your
Yep.
CRM software. Like some of those are really freaking expensive.
Yeah.
It's a write off.
All that technology, exactly, because it's an assistance in your business. Like it's like a grading or dirt work company working with a shovel versus buying a backhoe or something like that.
Right.
Like you need that to be able to do your job to the best of your ability. And that's a write off, which is great too because we just had to pay our Q1 or Q2
Yeah.
MLS
I
fees
got to jump in
also.
and do
So
that
I'm
this
like,
week.
yeah, that's a write off.
Actually,
That's
no,
a
I did
write.
it
You
the
just
other
say,
day because I
yeah,
saw it pop up and I was like, I
I
will
hate
forget.
seeing it pop up. As soon as it pops up, I'm like, just pay it so I don't have to ever see
Right.
it again.
And on a side note, because this happened to us, I don't know if it hit you last week or 2 week. It was last week while I was in Dallas or heading to Dallas last Monday. If you don't pay those fees, please talk to your broker in charge or whatever they're called in your state, because when you don't pay
Yes.
them and you don't
It
let your
affects the
broker
whole
know,
firm.
everyone in your firm gets knocked out of. It could be MLS, it could be zip forms, it could be lots of things.
Hmm.
And that happened
Yep.
at our firm. I don't know who it was. I'm not going to point fingers. I'm not going to be mean to them if I find
Hmm.
out.
I
But
gotta
pay it.
say,
If you
when
can't
I
pay
was
them, at
at,
least talk to your broker so that they can change your status so it doesn't
uh
screw everyone. Like I had a client or I had an agent trying to write a listing agreement for a $2 million listing and she lost it partially because she couldn't get to the documents.
yikes. That's why I have blanks of everything. And
Well,
then like we
yes,
have real
but
signature too, so you can do it in a pinch kind of thing.
there was a
But
whole other thing going on there. But yes, but just if money is tight, talk to your broker
let them
and
know.
let them know so that they can do whatever it is in the background so you don't screw over the rest of your firm. Because that
Right.
was like 300 agents on Monday.
That was a lot of us. Yeah, when I was at KW, our broker in charge, and God love her, she's still to this day my favorite broker in charge I've ever had. But she would send out like the email from MLS would come out, and then a friendly little email would be like, "Hey, in case you missed it or it went to your spam or whatever excuse you have,
Right.
this is posted. This needs to be paid." And then like in 2 weeks or 3 weeks, I forget the cadence in which you would get a BCC, like a blind copy. She would check through and see who
Nice.
had paid and who hadn't. And then when we're coming down to the wire, it would be a phone call. And I
Right.
mean, I didn't get a phone call, but I know
Right.
people that got a phone call
Well, and
and be
I'm
like,
glad to know.
listen.
I'm glad to know she checked because one firm
Mm-hmm.
I was at didn't, and they just kept sending them, and I was like neurotic. I was like,
Yeah.
I know I
Did I
paid
do?
this.
Did I do?
Why are you
I
yelling at
have
me?
a,
Stop.
I have a receipt. Yeah, she would check, and she was really great about that because it does, like, it affects her ability to do her job too, and get some very upset agents when they're trying to do their work and they're like, hey, I paid my bill,
Yeah.
why can't I use this stuff?
Right. Well, and then like I was also one last thing, and we're going back to taxes. I was also in a panic because I was like, did I not pay? I know I paid. I always
Right.
like it comes out and I pay it.
Yep.
Like it's done because I don't want to worry about it. I pay
Hmm.
that more on time than I pay my mortgage on time. Like
Yep.
because I can be late on a mortgage payment and still work. I can't, whatever. I remember when I was
Yeah, and mortgage
broke.
payment gives you a little teeny tiny grace period too.
Right.
I mean, we're not encouraging not paying your
Exactly.
mortgage payment.
But
That's not what we're here to do. But if
we're
push
just
comes to
saying.
shove, for the rest of us in your firm, please pay your MLS
Yes.
dues.
So something
Okay.
else that is all is
Back to
also could
taxes.
be an expense, and we kind of touched on it when we were talking about like conferences and travel and stuff.
Hmm.
Meals and networking. So like if you are discussing business with a client or a referral partner or another agent, it's a write-off. If you're taking a client out to a meal, after closing or to discuss what they're looking for, that's a write-off. That's a
Hmm.
business meal. Um, I have mine from my trip because they were I have to put them in the envelope and that I'll probably look at in 6 months. But those are or even my parking. Like it was a business, or actually it's not parking, it's a train ticket.
Yeah,
Um,
parking's a big one though.
Parking is a big one, but things
Especially
like,
if you're in an area like Charlotte and things like that, if you're parking in like parking decks. And this goes for your like your trainings and stuff. If you go to a CE and you have to pay for park, like all of that stuff,
yeah,
it's an expense.
those are an expense. And I think the last one on our list is not one. No, it is one, I guess I would
Yeah,
think
we have
of, but we don't really have it. We have
hmm
an annual, but, or we do have a transaction fee, kind of.
we do.
Um, if you're getting charged a desk fee or a franchise fee or a transaction fee, it's a deductible. So
hmm
make sure those aren't just like, make sure your CPA has those calculated because those can add up quickly. Like
Yeah.
our annual fee is $750, and then we do have a transaction fee. I never would have thought that my transaction fee, I don't know why, would be deductible. I like a
Oh, I don't
desk fee
know.
made sense to me, or
Yeah.
a franchise fee.
hmm
But yeah, it's a deductible. I mean, it's a fee you're paying out of
Yep.
what you've made.
Yep.
So,
So I used to pay almost $100 for a desk fee a month, and then that was in addition to like our office fees, which were well over $100 a month. In it, and then we did have transaction fees and insurance and all that stuff. Like things, they are expensive, and depending on the business model, like they have to pay their bills. But this is you being able to take credit for you paying some of those bills.
right. Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, I hate those Facebook posts where agents are like, "You don't understand what it costs to be a realtor. That's why my commission is what it is." Show your value in a
Yeah,
different
we
way.
won't. Yeah, we
But
won't get into all
right.
that. Like
But
it.
here's, if you're not mom, I know you're listening, or if you're not an agent and you're listening to this episode, here's just an idea of some of the stuff we pay for.
hmm
This, and we haven't even given you all numbers because these numbers can vary. Like, okay, you said your desk and office fee was about $200 a month. Okay.
hmm
So we have a $750 annual fee, and then our transaction fee varies until we cap. Technology and subscriptions. Forewarn, I think if you are paying for it for yourself, is like $50 a month.
hmm
Splice can be like 200 a year, I think.
Yep.
My MLS dues for one quarter were 195 this quarter.
hmm
The conference I went to last week was 480 just to get a seat in the door. My hotel was going to be another, I used points, but it would have been like another $800. The flight was another 450.
Yeah.
Um,
Right. Well, here's one thing though. Like the conferences and the traveling, like it's investing in us. Honestly, it's a little vacation and we love it too.
eh,
But like breaking it down like back to just basic, if people are like, "Oh, real estate agents make a lot of money." We do make good money
we
if
do.
you're good at your job. There's
Right.
also more than 70% of agents last year didn't sell
A single
one
house.
home, sold
Now,
one or less homes. That's a lot of agents. But
we need to do an
for
episode on that because I hate that statistic. Because
okay.
how many people, and then we're going to say this and then we got to get back to taxes. We're going to do an episode on that. I'm going to write it down.
How many times this episode have we said
We're going
we're
to do
going
an
to say this
episode on
one
that.
more thing and then we're going to go back to
Right.
what we're supposed
So
to be
much for the
talking about?
outline today. How many people have their real estate license and are property managers,
hmm
or have it and it's just sitting there inactive because they're retired or they're not ready to jump in? Like, can we break that? I want to break that statistic down. That 72% people keep throwing around. I want more knowledge. I want more info on that number.
Yeah, where do you get that
Right.
number?
Because
Where
I
do we
feel
find
like,
that number?
yes, there are a lot of agents who have licenses and don't sell, but that doesn't mean they're unsuccessful people. It
Right.
might mean they have something else going on in life, or they just keep their license active in the background because it's a requirement for some other position they have.
Yeah, or they keep it active and then just refer people out. Like
Right.
it's really like there's a
Or they're
million
a
different
real
things that could
estate
happen.
educator and they aren't in the business, or they're a BIC and they aren't
hmm
in the bit. Like, that's a very misleading. I hate statistics for that reason. They can be very misleading.
Yeah,
Um,
statistics can be great one way or very bad
yes.
the other way.
So
But
let's jump into how to prepare for tax season, but without stressing.
mhm.
We glossed over a couple at the beginning, like how you have profit first set up. I finally opened a bank account. Um,
It doesn't help you for last year's taxes, but it
no,
is going to set you up for great success
it
this year.
might, because all my closing, I might need that money in a couple weeks. Um,
Stop it.
I
You don't
I
touch that.
overset it for now to like back me up, but
Mm-hmm.
the one thing is like tracking the income and expenses.
Mm-hmm.
Don't wait until April. Like I know some agents, they call Financial Fridays. They take 30 minutes or an hour every Friday and they go through all their expenses for the week and they get
Mm-hmm.
everything tracked and it's done. Boof,
Yep.
done. Like, and then at the end of the year, they hand their CPA a nice, tight little package. I
Yep.
think that's a great idea if you don't have ADHD.
It is the biggest thing for when talking about bank accounts. Make sure that you have a business bank account too, because one of the, and I heard this in a class, one of the biggest reasons that an IRS will just like toss your deductions back at you is if you commingle your funds. And commingling means that you have your business and your personal all in one bank account versus having a separate business and personal bank account. Because if they're seeing that you bought McDonald's for your kids 17 times, but then you did stop at McDonald's once with a client and you're trying to claim that, they're like, yeah, well, we really can't tell the difference between your business and your personal
Right.
expenses. So we're just going to disallow all of these.
And
So,
technically, like, it can just be a separate account in your name that you only use for business. It doesn't,
correct.
you don't have to, and I might be wrong, but the way I'm running it right now, because I'll be honest, I don't have a DBA or a S Corp or whatever set up right now. I'm just using a separate bank account. Now, have I the last 4 years? No. And
Stop
like,
telling the IRS all your secrets.
I know.
Golly.
I know.
But no, keeping track of that and having, so I print out my bank statements once a month. And then I have a spreadsheet that we put all of those, like I try to categorize it all in there. This year I'm hoping will be a lot better for me in receipts. I've told you I'm terrible with receipts. QuickBooks, I can email to QuickBooks, which is great. And also the app, the QuickBooks online app that you have on your phone, you can snap a picture of the receipts and it'll also link it to those transactions if you're using the bank accounts that are connected to QuickBooks. So again, that'll just kind of like it'll give you a whole sheet at the end and be like, here you go. Here's your tracked receipts. Here's this, that, and the other thing. One thing that I did learn this year that I did not know, just because you take a picture of your receipt and upload it to something like that doesn't mean you can get rid of the receipt.
I didn't know
You
that.
have to have you have to have the paper copy.
That's
Um,
interesting because, like, this type of paper fades so quickly.
correct, which is bananas. But I thought that's why like that's part of the great thing about scanning those receipts. Like you
Yeah.
have the scanned image, but you're supposed to
Oh,
keep the
for
whole
how
thing. So
long?
3 years till they can't audit you anymore.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's not
Mm-hmm.
awful.
Yep. Scan them, keep them. I used to have like one of those envelope, like the expandable envelope things.
Mm-hmm.
Because I like color coding, and so I had like it had like 4 tabs, and it was like marketing, vehicle, whatever it was, and I would pop the receipts into that section. And I need another one. It died a terrible death, and then I just
I couldn't
really
tell you what
stopped
year
using it.
this is, but this is 1 year of receipts in here.
Nice.
And
Do
there's
need
one
to be
in
better.
this year is started in you know the wax envelopes they give you at the post office for your stamps?
Mm-hmm.
2025,
Nice.
baby.
That's great. And then the other thing, and this is again, we talked about this in the beginning, like accounting tools, right? So QuickBooks for self-employed. You can use a spreadsheet. I use both for different reasons. MileIQ, I've used the QuickBooks tracker one. Hurdler, I've used personally for keeping track of mileage. Those are just easy because again, they're a swipe. Like this was personal, this was business, this was personal, and then at
Right.
the end, it'll give you those actual numbers without having to use a
Yeah.
percentage or guess.
Well, and like some CRMs will. And I think I can in Lofty if I were to put all of that in.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe I should. I might try it this year, see what it spits out. But because I know when I like close, it asks me like GCI, then the net, things like that. But
Mm-hmm.
I've never played with it enough to know. But some CRMs do. You can use that tracks. And then you can also track it like per closing. What did I spend?
Right.
How much did I really spend to sell this house?
Mm-hmm.
What does that look like? Um, and that helps you market to your clients too. It'll be like, hey, on average, I spend 30% of what you're paying me, and that's probably a very high number, but to market a home. So don't
Right.
think that I'm pocketing all of that. Like part of that is getting this house sold. The next one, the next tip is to set aside money.
Yep,
What
we
a
talked about
novel
this a little
idea.
bit too. Yeah, but listen, it's one of those things like for years, right? I had one bank account. All my commission went in there and everything came out of there, my bills, business bills, expenses, the whole nine. But then like you're looking at it like, "Oh, that's my money." It's half of that, like literally half of that money is not your money anymore. Especially Are you back? Oh, you muted yourself or something. I can't hear you.
I did, so you wouldn't hear me yell at the cat.
Oh.
I could see Roxanne and I knew she was hunting the kitten. Um,
No, I was just saying that if you have just one bank account where your commission goes into and you're paying your personal bills, your marketing bills, all of those things out of that account, and you're looking at it and you're like, oh, that's my money. But, like, quite frankly, half of that money is not your money,
right.
which is the most disgusting thing in the whole wide world because you work for yourself and somehow you have to pay a convenience fee for that,
Yep.
which is
Yes.
gross. So they say to set aside 30% of every commission check for your taxes
Well,
to pay
Profit
Uncle
First has a
Sam.
different percentage, don't they?
It's so it varies business to business. Like
Right.
and I think it's a if you've been in business long enough and you know what your expenses are and your
Right.
deductions are, and you usually end up paying a different percentage of taxes. But if you were to not have any deductions, to not have expenses, you're probably going to be right around that 30%,
Yeah.
right?
Probably. Probably,
Which
yeah.
sweet little me once upon a time thought that self-employed, like you Google self-employment taxes, what, 17%, 15 or 17%, right? So I'm like, oh, okay, we save that much money. No, that's in addition to regular income tax. How I
Yeah. That's why I hire a
violently
CPA.
mad. That is the dumbest thing. The dumbest thing. Why? Like, I just thought that you had to, it sucks because you have to pay all at once at the end of the year or quarterly, right?
Yeah.
Because you don't have uh, an employer that's taking that money out for you. Like, you're just responsible to hold on to their money and give it back to them.
And
Not that you have to pay them more. Oh,
and if
it's a
you are
ripoff.
listening to this and you're not self-employed, like you're still working a full-time job or whatnot,
Mm-hmm.
I almost got screwed one year because my employer was not taking out my taxes, even though I filled out all the paperwork correctly. And that was what saved me was I still had my paperwork.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and come tax time, I was gonna owe like 20 grand. And I said, "Excuse me." So I called my employer. I'm surprised I didn't get fired that day for how
Mm-hmm.
fired up and mean I was. And I just said, "That's bullshit." And they're like, "Well, you'll have to pay it. You know, we paid you." I said, "Yeah, but I was under the impression that you were taking out taxes.
Right.
Like you had me fill out the paperwork. I submitted it. This is like thankfully they did the right thing and they paid that tax bill for me. They gave me the money."
Mm-hmm.
Which was funny cuz when they sent it to me, I got taxed on it.
Of
But
course, of course you did.
like they didn't
That's
run it through the right way so I wouldn't get
oh,
taxed on it. But
that's funny.
always double check those statements like
Mm-hmm.
just as a backup because you never
Yep.
know. Um Now
But
here's
having that tax savings account too, a lot of them you can get like I mean it's a savings account, so you can get that extra like what is it, half a percent, one
right.
percent, and like
Right.
oh look you made $1.87 on your account. Oh
Yay.
look you made 17.30 whatever it is. Just adds in every month, which is I mean that's nice. It's a little
Yeah.
present
And
for
if you oversave in there, it is like getting your tax return. So,
right.
I mean, but you held it and you made money on it instead of the government.
Mhm. Right.
I think the last tip is the most important one.
I agree.
Find the right CPA. Brenna is brave and does her own taxes. I'm impressed because I wouldn't even, no. Mm-mm. Um, but
It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
10 out of 10, 12 out of 10 do not recommend.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
Don't
I wouldn't
recommend it.
even. To me, it's like
The thing
trying to buy a
is, and
house without a realtor. You can do it,
r-
but why would I?
why would you?
Right.
Right. I understand. The thing is, we haven't found, we've had taxes done by people before, and it's a disaster,
Yeah.
right? So, and I think this goes for every industry, not just real estate agents. You need to find somebody who knows the business, who understands the nuances, the deductions, and understands like, I don't want to take a $1,500 standardized deduction for my in-home office because your in-home office compared to your the size of your home is what, almost a quarter of the square footage of your house.
It literally is.
Right? Like that deduction for you is most likely much, much higher than a standardized $1,500 deduction. But you just go to, whoever down the street and here's my stuff. They put in the numbers and they don't know your business. They don't know you. They don't know the expenses. They don't know how this works. And then you are saddled with a huge payback expense.
Yes.
So I do think that you need to interview a lot of them. And I feel like I've heard so many horror stories that people find in the wrong one. Right?
Yes. And that's what I was going to say. The next part, I think, is ask around because there is a CPA in our market who specializes in realtors. And I know he cost a local couple $25,000 last year because he didn't do something right. And as soon as they posted about it, and they didn't even have to name his name, other realtors chimed in on the post and said, I know who you're talking about. Same thing to me. Like, don't use this person.
It's really bad. The other thing too, and I want to throw this in here because the actual inputting of like doing the tax part of it is not that hard, right? It is the bookkeeping. It is the tracking. It is that kind of stuff. And again, we talked about Miranda Whitley the very beginning of this. That is the girl for this. Somebody that will reconcile your accounts, that will keep track of that will make your quarterly payments if you want them to, that kind of thing. She doesn't actually file taxes.
Nope.
She is a CPA that knows everything about, and her and her husband are self-employed. So she understands wanting the write-offs, the nuances, the tracking, that kind of thing. What she does is keeps you organized and ready throughout the whole year. So then come January, when we get our 1099s, we're ready to go and not scrambling come March or April. So if you want her contact, I can probably put it in the show notes again too.
Let's put her in
because
the show notes.
I think that her bookkeeping services are like $300 and something a month.
Yeah, it depends on what you want from her.
Yep. It's like a setup fee and then like $300 a month. But again, that is a write-off.
Exactly. Your tax
you heard it here
is a write-off on your taxes.
And we've talked about this before too. Listen, if you're spending weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and hours and hours and hours trying to figure this out and do it yourself, there's a very good chance that you would be able to pay much less money than it's costing you in your time to figure this out yourself.
Yep.
$300 a month. I spend more than $300 a month on the dumbest shit. Okay? And that is not a business write-off. So I would get you, if you can do it, get the platforms, the whatever technology you need to do it, and do it great. Otherwise, outsource it.
Well, and if you're like me and you're just like terrified of it, I was just thinking like the bookkeeping part, or you don't have time or it's not your jam. Like, it's just not my jam. Pay someone to do it. Like, I was thinking about, as you said it, maybe I'll pay her first instead of getting a cleaning lady. I'd rather clean my house. And it's probably about the same cost per month to have her come every other week.
Probably.
And then I'm not stressing over it. But yes.
They don't have to be scary. If you were prepared, this is something that actually the last podcast that Miranda did with us, she's like, it's not meant to be a crippling anxiety like, oh my God, now how am I going to pay this bill time of year? Like, if you set yourself up throughout the year by setting aside money, by keeping track of your expenses, by like documenting everything, then sometimes this time of year is just another time of year where we're like, okay, we have a bill to pay. And bonus, maybe you had more deductions than you thought, you oversaved for your tax bill, and now you get a nice little present for
Right.
yourself come
Well, yes. And the way I think about
April.
like with the bookkeeper, if it's $300 a month, that's $3,600 a year.
Mm-hmm. Half a closing.
I was just gonna say it's half a closing. So if they'll let you and you're comfortable, this is how I like to do things. Just pay the lump sum.
Oh, I love a lump sum.
I don't
Oh
love
my God, I love
recurring
lump sum.
payments.
No.
Pay the lump sum. You know what?
Just let
I
me
got a
pay it right
couple
now so I
closings
don't ever
coming
have
up.
to think about it.
Guess who's gonna go pay a lump sum?
I think you should.
Pretty sure I'm gonna. Because I don't like recurring payments. I'd rather just here it's done.
And chances are, most of the time, and I mean, I feel like a good percentage of the time, if you pay up front, it's like a 10% savings.
Yeah.
And you were going to pay for it anyways.
Exactly.
Right? Like I just did this, my the Yukon lost OnStar and my Wi-Fi on board, which has been a game changer. I've never had Wi-Fi in my car before. It's amazing. The kids can do schoolwork. I can do work wherever I am, and it is much better than my hotspot.
Really?
Much
I don't know if
better.
my car has it. I'll have to look and see.
Than my hotspot. And I've worked from my hotspot for years now, but like it is dramatically different. Anyways, the trial period was up, and it was either like $55 a month or you pay in full, and it was $418.
Done.
You do that math, you get like 3 months for free, right? So yeah, I just paid in full. Anyways, okay.
I think I do have it in my car. I'm gonna have to look it up. See what it costs.
You should look at it. It's amazing. I really thought it was going to be very much like having a hotspot, like my hotspot connection, but it is much stronger than my hotspot.
Well, now I'm gonna get distracted after this and go play with my car.
Okay. Well,
anyway,
that's it. That's the end.
It's the quick synopsis. If you're prepared, it's not going to be scary. If you're not prepared this year, that's fine. But as you head into Q2 and we wrap up this tax season, let's put some structure into place. And let's make sure I've already done step 1. I open that account for taxes. It automatically pulls my compensation over there. So I'll never even see it. But let's all just get a little more organized financially. I love the idea of the financial Fridays, or you do once a month. Like I'm going to build that in. Even if it's just putting my receipts in my QuickBooks. Boom, done. Like set a little bit of time aside and it won't be as scary.
All right. We'll see you guys next week. We just finished another episode of Contracts and Chaos, but believe me, the chaos does not stop here. So check out the show notes for our email address and where to follow us on socials, and we will see you next week.